Hello, today's devotion is going to be based on Genesis chapter 13. Abram went up out of Egypt into the Negev. He went with his wife, and with all that he had, and with Lot too. Abram was very wealthy in livestock, in silver, and in gold. He went on his journeys from the Negev to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai. He went to the site of the altar that he had made there earlier. There Abram proclaimed the name of the Lord. Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks, herds, and tents. The land was not able to support them if they lived close together, because their possessions were so great that they could not live together. There was conflict between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites lived in the land at the time. Abram said to Lot, "Please, because we are close relatives, let there be no conflict between you and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen. Doesn't the whole land lie before you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left." Lot looked up and saw the whole region around the Jordan River as you come to Zoar. Before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, it was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. So Lot chose the region around the Jordan for himself. Lot headed out toward the east, and they separated from each other. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, and Lot lived among the cities of the region around the Jordan, and moved his tent close to Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were extremely wicked sinners against the Lord. After Lot was separated from him, the Lord said to Abram, "Now lift up your eyes, and look around from the place where you are. Look north and south, east and west, because all the land that you see I will give to you and to your descendants permanently. I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your descendants could also be counted. Get up, walk through the length and breadth of the land, because I will give it to you." Abram moved his tent and went to live by the oaks at Mamre, which are at Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord. This is the word of the Lord. The history of this patriarch continues as his family travels and ultimately settles. And we come in this chapter to the motif that we've noticed before, the conflict of brothers. But as Abram and Lot may come to a peaceful solution here, we see in it a hint of the peace and mercy that God extends to bring reconciliation among brothers by the forgiveness of sin in our brother Jesus. Abram is maturing in his faith in this chapter. He continues to pray to, praise, and preach about the Lord as a result of the promise that he has received from him. Again, in this one man, all the families of the earth are to be blessed. So Abram rightly preaches this grace for anyone who would hear it. In the New Testament, we point to the Great Commission as the direction for sharing the gospel with all peoples, and other passages that show that God's grace in Christ is not only for a handful of people. We may be confident, speaking with anyone, that we're telling the truth when we say this message is for you. And Abram could be certain of the same thing. And therefore, for the promise, Abram could have no qualms about giving the choice of land to his nephew Lot. Pride and greed seeks the best for oneself, but it's a stroke of grace from God that Abram believes all his needs will be provided for, so Lot may choose the better land. Moses gives the outcome of this choice already. What is judged to be the better land will be destroyed because of the corruption of man's sin. Where Lot settled was populated by wicked sinners against the Lord. It's contrary to our natural thinking that the wicked should be rewarded with better things than the righteous. But we're directed always to keep the end in mind, that the exalted will be humbled, and the humbled exalted. And so here God reaffirms his promise to Abram of the exaltation that will be his. And because Abram is already a possessor of the promise, he is exalted. And so you too, by faith that holds God's promises, are exalted and have only to wait for the fulfillment. Amen.